Hi. Welcome back. Oh, see my cute baby sleeping. Sorry I'm late. I was trying to put him to sleep and lay him down, and I did lay him down, but that lasted for all 1.5 seconds, and then he was just like, nope. So I thought, oh well, instead of walking him and rocking him and trying to put him back to sleep, I'll just hold him. So here he is, all adorable. Okay, so um, we are on chapter 13, I think. Double check. Oh my goodness, I might have lost my place again. Before we get started, what did you have for dinner? I made rotini pasta with um, shrimp in like a creamy Parmesan basil garlic sauce. It was really good, and steamed broccoli. And then I'm making cupcakes, but I was trying to be all creative and make them shaped like hearts. But I don't have like a heart shaped cupcake pan, so I just put the regular papers in, and I did a whole thing of mini cupcakes and regular size, and then I just put tinfoil and tucked it in to make it kind of go into a point. We'll see how they turn out. They're not too much like hearts, but it's Valentine's Day tomorrow, so I was trying to make them fun and special. And they're gonna, it's cupcakes, and there's only four of us, and it's a lot. It's a big batch, so it'll take us a couple of days to eat them. So I was kind of making them for tonight and for Valentine's Day. And before I get started, of course, I want to show off some of my stuff because I can. This is my channel. This is stuff that I make. This pair of earrings. You can see they have a little. It didn't show up as much as I was hoping it would against that dark blue background, but those are little dried flowers in there. But it's got the silver and the blue and super sparkly and pretty. These are a little bigger, for people who like, something a little bit bigger. And then this one, so cute. This is puppy paws. See these cute little sparkly puppy paw earrings and necklace to match for, all you dog lovers out there. And all this stuff is for sale now. Most of these aren't in the store. It's a lot of work to put stuff in the store, and I just have been so busy. But anything that if you saw and you wanted it, message me, contact me, you can get it. All of it is for sale. And then we will get started. Evelina. Oh, I do have my place. Okay, it is chapter 13, or letter 13. I go say chapter on here, but there it goes by letters. So it's letter 13. And this is volume 2, letter 13. So Evelina in continuation, Holborn, June 13th. Here, let's turn this down so you can see the cuteness. Yesterday, all the Brangtons dined here. Our conversation was almost wholly concerning the adventures of the day before. Mr. Brangton said that his first thought was instantly to turn his lodger out of doors, lest, continued he, his killing himself in my house should bring me into any trouble. But then I was afraid I should never get the money he owes me, whereas if he dies in my house I have a right to all he leaves behind, if he goes off in my debt. Indeed, I would put him in prison, but what should I get by that? He could not earn anything there to he could not earn anything there to pay me, so I considered about it some time, and then I determined to ask him point blank for my money out of hand, and so I did. But he told me he'd pay me next week. However, I gave him to understand that though I was no Scotchman, yet I did not like to be overreached, any more than he. So then he gave me a ring, which to my certain knowledge must be worth 10 guineas, and told me he would not part with it for his life, and a good deal more such sort of stuff, but that I might keep it till he could pay me. It is 10 to 1, father, said young Brangton, if he came fairly by it. Very likely not, answered he, but that will make no great difference, for I shall be able to prove my right to it all one. What principles! I could hardly stay in the room. I'm determined, said the son. I'll take some opportunity to affront him soon, now I know how poor he is, because of the airs he gave himself when he first came. And pray, how was that child? Said Madame Duval. Why, you never knew such a fuss in your life as he made, because one day at dinner I only happened to say that I supposed he had never got such a good meal in his life before he came to England. There he fell in such a passion as you can't think. But for my part, I took no notice of it, for to be sure, thinks I, he must needs be a gentleman, or he'd never get to be so angry about it. However, he won't put his tricks upon me again in a hurry. Well, said Miss Polly, he's grown quite another creature to what he was, and he doesn't run away from us, nor hide himself, nor anything, and he's as civil as can be, and he's always in the shop, and he saunters about the stairs, and he looks at everybody as comes in. Why, you may see what he's after, plain enough, said Mr. Brington. He wants to see Miss again. Ha! Oh, how I should laugh, said the son, if he should have fell in love with Miss. I'm sure, said Miss Brington, sorry, thought that was the dad. I'm sure, said Miss Brington, Miss is welcome, but for my part, I should be quite ashamed of such a beggarly conquest. Such was the conversation till tea time, when the appearance of Mr. Smith gave a new turn to the discourse. Miss Brington desired me to remark with what a smart air he entered the room, and asked me if he had not very much of a quality look. Come, cried he, advancing to us, you ladies must not sit together. Wherever I go, I always make it a rule to part the ladies. And then, handing Miss Brington to the next chair, he seated himself between us. Well now, ladies, I think we sit very well. What say you? For my part, I think it was a very good motion. If my cousin likes it, said Miss Brington, I'm sure I've no objection. Oh, cried he, I always study what the ladies like. That's my first thought, and indeed it is but natural that you should like best to sit by the gentlemen, for what can you find to say to one another? Say, cried young Brington. Oh, never you think of that. They'll find enough to say, I'll be sworn. You know the women are never tired of talking. Come, come, Tom, said Mr. Smith. Don't be severe upon the ladies when I'm by. You know I always take their part. Soon after, when Miss Brington offered me some cake, this man of gallantry said, Well, if I was that lady, I'd never take anything from a woman. Why not, sir? Because I should be afraid of being poisoned for being so handsome. Who is severe upon the ladies now? Said I. Why, really, ma'am, it was a slip of the tongue. I did not intend to say such a thing, but one can't always be on one's guard. Soon after, the conversation turning upon public places, young Brington asked if I had ever been to George's at Hampstead. Indeed, I never heard the place mentioned. Didn't you, miss? Cried he eagerly. Why, then, you've a deal of fun to come, I'll promise you, and I'll tell you what, I'll treat you there some Sunday soon. So now, Bid and Paul, be sure you don't tell miss about the chairs and all that, for I've a mind to surprise her, and if I pay, I think I've a right to have it my own way. George's at Hampstead, repeated Mr. Smith contemptuously. How came you to think the lady would like to go to such a low place as that? But pray, ma'am, have you ever been to Don Saltero's at Chelsea? No, sir. No? Nay, then, I must insist on having the pleasure of conducting you there before long. I assure you, ma'am, many genteel people go, or else, I give you my word, I should not recommend it. Pray, cousin. Oh, wrong voice, I keep doing that. Pray, cousin, said Mr. Brington, have you been at Sadler's Wells yet? No, sir. No? Why, then you've seen nothing. Pray, miss, said the son, how do you like the Tower of London? I have never been to it, sir. Goodness, exclaimed he, not seen the tower? Why, maybe you hain't been to the top of the monument neither. No, indeed, I have not. Why, then you might as well have not come to London for all I see, for you've been nowhere. Pray, miss, said Polly, have you been all over Paul's Church yet? No, ma'am. Well, but, ma'am, said Mr. Smith, how do you like Vauxhall and Maybourne? I never saw either, sir. No, bless me, you really surprise me. Why, Vauxhall is the first pleasure in life. I know nothing like it. Well, ma'am, you must have been with strange people indeed not to have taken you to Vauxhall. Why, you have seen nothing of London yet. However, we must try if we can't make you amends. In the course of this catechism, many other places were mentioned of which I have forgotten the names, but the looks of surprise and contempt that my repeated negatives incurred were very diverting. Come, said Mr. Smith, after tea, as this lady has been with such a queer set of people, let's show her the difference. Suppose we go somewhere tonight. I love to do things with spirit. Come, ladies, where shall we go? For my part, I should like Foots, but the ladies must choose. I never speak myself. Well, Mr. Smith is always in such spirits, said Miss Brington. Why, yes, ma'am, yes, thank God, pretty good spirits. I have not yet the cares of the world upon me. I am not married. Ha ha ha, ha ha. You'll excuse me, ladies, but I can't help laughing. No objection being made, to my great relief, we all proceeded to the little theatre in Haymarket, where I was extremely entertained by the performance of the miner and the commissary. They all returned hither to supper. Letter 14. Evelina in continuation. June 15th. Yesterday morning, Madame Duval again sent me to Mr. Brington's, attended by Monsieur Dubois, to make some party for the evening, because she had the vapours the preceding day from staying at home. As I entered the shop, I perceived the unfortunate North Briton seated in a corner, with a book in his hand. He cast his melancholy eyes up as we came in, and, I believe, immediately recollected my face, for he started and changed colour. Immediately, oh, sorry. I delivered Madame Duval's message to Mr. Brington, who told me I should find Polly upstairs, but the others were gone out. Upstairs, therefore, I went, and seated on a window with Mr. Brown at her side sat Miss Polly. I felt a little awkward at disturbing them, and much more so at their behaviour afterwards, for as soon as the common inquiries were over, Mr. Brown grew so fond and so foolish that I was extremely disgusted. Polly all the time only rebuked him with, "La now, Mr. Brown, do be quiet, can't you? You should not behave so before company. Why now, what will Miss think of me?" While her looks plainly showed not merely the pleasure, but the pride which she took in his caresses. I did not by any means think it necessary to punish myself by witnessing their tenderness, and therefore, telling them I would see if Miss Brangden was returned home, I soon left them, and again descended into the shop. "So, miss, you've come again," said Mr. Brington. "What, I suppose you've a mind to sit a little in the shop and see how the world goes, hey, miss?" I made no answer, and Monsieur Dubois instantly brought me a chair. The unhappy stranger, who had risen at my entrance, again seated himself, and though his head leaned towards his book, I could not help observing that his eyes were most intently and earnestly turned towards me. Monsieur Dubois, as well as his broken English would allow him, endeavoured to entertain us, till the return of Miss Brington and her brother. "How tired I am!" cried the former. "I have not a foot to stand upon." And then, without any ceremony, she flung herself into the chair from which I had risen to receive her. There's manners for you. You stand up to say hello and she sits in your chair. "You tired?" said the brother. "Why then what must I be, that have walked twice as far?" And with equal politeness he paid the same compliment to Monsieur Dubois which his sister had done to me. 2 chairs and 3 stools completed the furniture of the shop, and Mr. Brington, who chose to keep his own seat himself, desired Monsieur Dubois to take another, and then, seeing that I was without any, called out to the stranger, "Come, Mr. Macartney, lend us your stool." Shocked at their rudeness, I declined the offer, and approaching Miss Brington said, "If you will be so good as to make room for me on the chair, there will be no occasion to disturb that gentleman." "What signifies that?" cried the brother. "He has had his share of sitting, I'll be sworn." "And if he has not," said the sister, "he has a chair upstairs, and the shop is our own, I hope." This grossness so much disgusted me that I took the stool, and carrying it back to Mr. Macartney myself, I returned him thanks as civilly as I could for his politeness, but said that I had rather stand. He looked at me as if unaccustomed to such attention, bowed very respectfully, but neither spoke nor yet made use of it. I soon found that I was an object of derision to all present, except Monsieur Dubois, and therefore I begged Mr. Brington would give me an answer for Madame Duval as I was in haste to return. Well then, Tom, Biddy, where have you a mind to go tonight? Your aunt and miss want to be abroad amongst them. Why then, papa, said Miss Brington, we'll go to Don Saltero's. Mr. Smith likes that place, so maybe he'll be going along with us. No, no, said the son, I'm for White Conduit House, so let's go there. White Conduit House, indeed, cried his sister. No, Tom, that I won't. Why, then let it alone. Nobody wants your company. We shall do as well without you, I'll be sworn, and better too. I'll tell you what, Tom, if you don't hold your tongue, I'll make you repent it, that I assure you. Just then Mr. Smith came into the shop, which he seemed to intend passing through, but when he saw me, he stopped and began a most courteous inquiry after my health, protesting that, had he known I was there, he should have come down sooner. But bless me, ma'am, added he, what is the reason you stand? And then he flew to bring me the seat from which I had just parted. Mr. Smith, you are come in very good time, said Mr. Brington, to end a dispute between my son and daughter about where they shall all go tonight. Oh, fie, Tom, dispute with a lady, cried Mr. Smith. Now, as for me, I'm for where you will, provided this young lady is of the party. One place is the same as another to me, so that it be agreeable to the ladies. I would go anywhere with you, ma'am, to me. Unless, indeed, it were to church. Ha, ha, ha! You'll excuse me, ma'am, but really I never could conquer my fear of a parson. Oh, really, ladies, I beg your pardon for being so rude, but I can't help laughing for my life. I was just saying, Mr. Smith, said Miss Brington, that I should like to go to Don Saltero's. Now, pray, where would you like to go? Why, really, Miss Biddy, you know I always let the ladies decide. I never fix anything myself, but I should suppose it would be rather hot at the coffee house. However, pray, ladies, settle it among yourselves. I'm agreeable to whatever you choose. It was easy for me to discover that this man, with all his parade of conformity, objects to everything that is not proposed by himself, but he is so much admired by this family for his gentility that he thinks himself a complete fine gentleman. Come, said Mr. Brington, the best way will be to put it to the vote, and then everybody will speak their minds. Biddy, call Paul downstairs, we'll start fair. Oh, papa, said Miss Brington, why can't you as well send Tom? You're always sending me off on the errands. A dispute then ensued, but Miss Brington was obliged to yield. When Mr. Brown and Miss Polly made their appearance, the latter uttered many complaints of having been called, saying she did not want to come and was very well where she was. Now, ladies, your votes, cried Mr. Smith, and so, ma'am, to me. We'll begin with you. What place shall you like best? And then in a whisper he added, I assure you I shall say the same as you do, whether I like it or not. He's so annoying. Ah, look at that sweet baby. Ah, he's so cute. I said that as I was ignorant what choice was in my power, I must beg to hear their decisions first. This was reluctantly assented to, and then Miss Brington voted for Saltero's coffee house, her sister for a party to Mother Redcap's, the brother for White Conduit House, Mr. Brown for Banyard Wells, Mr. Brington for Sadler's Wells, and Mr. Smith for Vauxhall. Well now, ma'am, said Mr. Smith, we have all spoken, and so you must give the casting vote. Come, what will you fix upon? Sir, answered I was to speak last. Well, so you will, said Miss Brington, for we've all spoke first. Pardon me, returned I, the voting has not yet been quite general. And I looked towards Mr. Macartney, to whom I wished extremely to show that I was not of the same brutal nature with those by whom he was treated so grossly. Why, pray, said Mr. Brington, who have we left out? Would you have the cats and dogs vote? No, sir, cried I with some spirit. I would have that gentleman vote, if indeed he is not superior to joining our party. They all looked at me as if they doubted whether or not they heard me right, but in a few moments their surprise gave way to a rude burst of laughter. Very much displeased, I told Monsieur Dubois that if he was not ready to go, I would have a coach called for myself. Oh, yes, he said, he was always ready to attend me. Mr. Smith, then advancing, attempted to take my hand and begged me not to leave till I had settled the evening's plan. I have nothing, sir, said I, to do with it, as it is my intention to stay at home, and therefore Mr. Brangden will be so good as to send Madame Duval word what place is fixed upon, when it is convenient to him. And then, making a slight curtsy, I left them. How much does my disgust for these people increase my pity for poor Mr. Macartney? I will not see them when I can avoid so doing, but I am determined to take every opportunity in my power to show civility to this unhappy man, whose misfortunes with his family only render him an object of scorn. I was, however, very well pleased with Monsieur Dubois, who, far from joining in their mirth, expressed himself extremely shocked at their ill breeding. We had not walked 10 yards before we were followed by Mr. Smith, who came to make excuses, and to assure me they were only joking, and hoped I took nothing ill, for if I did, he would make a quarrel of it himself with the Brangtons, rather than I should receive any offence. I begged him not to take any trouble about so immaterial an affair, and assured him I should not myself. He was so officious that he would not be prevailed upon to return home till he had walked with us to Mr. Dawkins. Madame Duval was very much displeased that I brought her so little satisfaction. White Conduit House was at last fixed upon, and notwithstanding my great dislike of such parties in such places, I was obliged to accompany them. Very disagreeable, and much according to my expectations, the evening proved. There were many people, all smart and gaudy, and so pert and low-bred that I could hardly endure being amongst them. But the party to which, unfortunately, I belonged seemed all at home. Okay, 2 chapters. That will do for today. So, there we go. Thanks for stopping by, coming to the story corner. Thanks for enjoying my stories. We are doing Anne of Green Gables next. This one is about half done, so we'll start that as soon as we finish this one, which means I need to get it ordered. So it's on my list. I look forward to tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Good night.